Hey, welcome to this week's Vercel Community Live Session. I'm Amy and this is Pauline. We're part of the community team here at Vercel. You can usually find us at community.vercel.com, and we're going to be your moderators for today's session. If you can't see the chat right now, just make sure that you're logged in and you click going on the event listing. And if you're comfortable sharing where you're listening from, please let us know in the chat. We love to see where people are all over the world. And throughout the session, feel free to drop your questions. We're going to ask all of them at the end, but ask them whenever you want. And we'll get to those once we're done with the presentation.
Amazing. Wow, it's incredible to see so many people here already. I think we're almost at 30 people a minute in, so this is great. Just a reminder for folks, we want to continue running these community sessions, so please make sure that you adhere to our code of conduct. And if you want to find where that is, if you go on our left sidebar in the community site, you can see the code of conduct there for more information. Let's just make sure that we keep this environment really positive and a safe space for everyone. Cool. So I'm so excited to introduce this week's session. We have Dylan and Reese from the domains team, and yeah, just super excited to get them on board to share more about domains and all the questions that you have for them. So I will add them onto the stage now. Hi both. Nice to see you.
Hey. Likewise. Thank you for having us.
All right, I will let you kick things off.
Sweet. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Dylan Mulroy. I am the tech lead and product area owner over Vercel's domains product. So that includes our search by stuff and registrar activities, DNS, cert management, and aliasing domains to deployments. I started at Vercel, last February, and originally did not start on domains. I was on a team called Lifecycle. And in September, I was asked to switch over to managing domains, which at the time did not have a formal team assigned to it. One thing to note is that domains is one of Vercel's oldest products and has been given love from a bunch of different engineers over the years. In fact, there's still Git blame artifacts in the front end of domains that have like Evil Rabbit and Javi and Guillermo still in there. But took over in September to try to start catching up on some of the tech debt that has accrued over the years. And that slowly turned into finding potential to kind of breathe some new life into Vercel domains. And just over time, we have found more and more use cases to tie it into our existing product and revamp our existing domains products and formalized a team around the product area, including Reese and Mark Ligola, who is unfortunately not with us today. But over the next year, we are kind of rethinking and reimagining some of our domains products, and we have some stuff to show you in that regards today. But I'll turn it over for Reese to introduce himself.
Yeah, I'm Reese. I joined Vercel pretty recently, about like 90 days ago, in January, doing software engineering on the domains team. A lot of my work so far has been kind of improving our front end, cleaning up some of our kind of legacy UIs. I've got some things to demo around that today. Yeah, we'll kind of jump into it. So I'm going to first go ahead and do a demo of what I've been working on recently, which is an improvement to our project domains tab. So here's one of our like stress testing environments for it, where we've got just a bunch of domains on this. There's 10,000 domains on this project, and this is kind of our existing UI for seeing what domains you have on a certain project, and then also adding a new domain, and some kind of improvements we made here recently. One thing shipped a month ago is being able to search domains here now, which is really nice. Currently, it only does exact matches, but we're also going to be updating it soon, so it'll do partial matches as you type. Another thing that's getting updated is this add domain modal. So right now, kind of if you this. These options all conflict with each other. So like if I want to add a domain to a preview environment, it doesn't really make sense that I can also like select a redirect here, which then that changes what environment you have. And I think if you clear that redirect out, there's kind of a lot of like noise that happens in this modal at the moment. And then another thing is it kind of encourages you to add domains not configured properly. And so you can end up with a lot of these like invalid configuration domains. So let me go ahead and swap over to the preview. One sec. Cool. So here's kind of what we've been working on for the new UI. Some kind of things to call out here is we condensed the view a lot. So now when you kind of have this invalid configuration state, you can click on this reconfigure. It brings up this specific thing to refresh this individual one. So the page is a little bit less noisy now. Along with that, shows you what records you need to have, copy buttons on the records when you added it. For scrolling, added infinite scroll here, so you don't have to manually specify load more. And so you can just scroll through these, loads everything pretty quickly. And then if I stop, it'll load in the config states, and we update faster. And so along with this, I've updated kind of the add domain experience. So this is a list of the domains that there are. And if I just put in a domain here, there's improvements here also to the like picking the project settings. So now instead of having them all conflict with each other, you can either connect it to an environment. So either production or your preview where you have a Git branch, or then you can manually specify, hey, I want to redirect this, and specify which domain you want to redirect to. And then it gets added to the project, and then also instructs you kind of how to configure the DNS. So you can download the DNS file now, upload that to your provider, and once you've added it, it gets added to the list. Yeah, anything else kind of to call out here, Dylan?
I don't think so. The only things I would cover is that this page was problematic on pretty much every front. It was one of our most chatty pages, network request wise, prior to kind of this revamp of the UI. And in addition, the lack of being able to search and find specific domains was a huge problem for some of our multi-tenant customers. We have some customers that run their own platforms where they host their own customers and use their own domains. And in those cases, those customers might have, as Reese is scrolling here, thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of their own domains under management on a project. So getting this page right has been a journey and a long time coming. Probably the next thing we want to show is we are revamping our basically registrar product line and services. That's going to start with a new search by experience, which will be quite different from what we have today, starting with the ability to search domains offline. That is a widely requested feature. We are really looking to kind of fill the gap that Google Domains left and be the place that developers, startups, really anyone to launch a brand comes to buy a domain. Another small spoiler alert is that, one, we cut our prices roughly on average by 50% back in November when we started selling at cost. And we are cutting our prices again in a few months when we release this new search by experience. And in some cases, you can expect to see quite drastic reductions in prices and much more competitive with other registrar providers like Porkbun and Cloudflare.
Yeah, it's a good overview. So it's kind of, these are the fictional designs that we have for our like new search by experience. Kind of a little bit of a grep.app theme where we want it to be super fast. So it's going to be same as existing one where you have an input, put the search in, and then that input comes up to the top. The kind of two highlighted results of the domain name of the TLDs that you're going to want to register will be kind of highlighted at the top. And then along with that, we've got filters on the sidebar where you can specify if you want it to be, AI for developers, home tech, along with that, like social acts on the domains, or filtering by a specific TLD. Then other parts here, being able to check out multiple domains at the same time is going to be planned. So you can kind of select them, add them to kind of your cart and check out. We're keeping a lot of kind of the frictionless elements of it. So one thing people like a lot about the current design is how quick you can go from kind of idea to finding the right domain to purchase. And so a lot of that will be kept while adding kind of more power to the search experience. Also being able to support logged out search. So you won't have to be signed in to search domains anymore, which is going to be really nice. Kind of this what it'll look like if we need to collect registration details for some domains. And yeah, another thing going out is supporting social handle search. So when you put in your domain name, also showing if the Twitter account, Instagram handles, all of those are available.
Some other things we're interested in supporting that probably won't come with the initial release. Well, actually, let me back up. Two things that we do want to release when this comes out initially is being able to essentially deploy either directly with V0, like we can try to intelligently, based on your domain, figure out what you're trying to build or prompt you with some questions about what you're trying to build and generate an app tied to your domain, get it all configured, and deploy straight from there, or also deploying straight from Git. We'd also like to, in the future, be able to support things like price monitoring or availability monitoring. We will be running sales on TLDs and domains with this release, so you'll want to keep your eyes open all the time on that, because there will be, discounts to be had. Yeah, other things we're talking about supporting is, at least in the registrar product line, is a big one that I really want to get in that probably won't come with MVP, but hopefully sometime in the second half of this year, is enabling webhooks for changes in registrar data. So things like maybe 30 days out from your renewal, you get reminded with a webhook, or when we successfully renew. Yeah. Also, like, if anyone has ideas, please shoot them our way. You have and can absolutely influence our roadmap. So we see all of your feedback, hear all of your feedback. So keep it coming. I think that's what we've got to show.
Amazing. That was really great. The chat definitely are super excited, and we have a couple of questions. So I'm going to kick us off, Amy, and then we can go from there. So the first question is, can I purchase a domain from project settings?
There is a button now on the new page. There is a button to take you straight to the buy experience.
I think there's more also we can do there, where we will, like, in the future, if you put in a domain that's not available, if you put in a domain that kind of doesn't have any records on it, we could search for that automatically for you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Next question we had from the chat. How does Vercel handle creating so many subdomains on Vercel.app? Doesn't Vercel have to update domain records every time you make a subdomain on Vercel.app?
Yeah, I can correct me if I'm wrong, Reese, but I believe that is enabled by us having a wildcard record on Vercel.app.
Yeah, and you can actually do the same thing for your app if you want, where we support wildcard domains, so you can enter like res.dev, and then you just handle the routing in your application, where you would keep it in a database table, where you would keep the alias to what it maps to, and then in your app do the routing.
Awesome. Let us know if you have any follow-up questions to that, but I will move on from another question in the chat. Do we need to set up our own reminder webhooks for domain expiration and renewals, or is that already built in to the email flow? Great question.
So we don't have webhooks today around registrar activities, and for today, you have to rely on basically the emails that we send. That being said, we did recently ship a new change at the beginning of this year where we enabled manual renewal. Up until February, Vercel only enabled you to toggle on and off auto renew. So essentially you would have to wait, the 365 days, and then our system would automatically renew it in the background. Today, for most TLDs, we can get into the semantics and peculiarities of ccTLDs, but for most TLDs today, you can renew your domain at any time within the year, just manually. So.
And then for domains that expire and domain renewals, we have automated emails that should get sent off kind of before a domain expires. You'll get an email and it should go through regardless of like email preferences, you'll get a notification for it.
Awesome. The next question we had from the chat is, how is the data fetching handled on the search pages to make it so fast through so many domains?
Well, we can answer this for both pages. Jacob, I'm not sure if you mean the project domains page or the search by page, but I'll talk about the search by page, and then I'll let Reese talk about the new project domains page with the infinite scroll. So currently in today's world, the search by page, it loads 3 or 4 columns of domains, whatever you type in with all the TLDs, and you can scroll. The way that works today is that each of those individual domains per TLD, so like .com, .ai, .io, each of those has a WebSocket connection back to a server, and that is doing availability, premium, and price checks. So that is feeding data back and forth very quickly there. That, to my knowledge, is the only place in Vercel where we are using WebSockets anywhere. And like I said, that code is roughly 7.5 to 8 years old now, has aged incredibly well and served us well. But we are aiming to be even faster with our new release of the search by experience. We are looking to have search performance characteristics of that of like grep.app, or if you've seen instant domain search. So we've got some clever tricks up our sleeve that we're planning to take advantage of to make that hopefully the fastest domain search on the web.
Yeah. Then on the project domains page side of things, it's kind of standard dashboard stuff. We have our domains API endpoints that we're fetching with SWR. There's something kind of special we're doing on the new one where we have this hook which is specifically isomorphic SWR, which starts the data fetching on the server on the initial request, and then completes it on the client for all of the domain config, and then it goes to suspense boundaries, that kind of a thing. And then the pagination, it's just kind of this straightforward, keeping a track where you left off and fetching another 100 records. I think we have a limitation. I want that to be faster, but I think we currently have a limitation at the moment on Cosmos where you can only retrieve 100 records at a time, something like that.
I do have an update on that. We will be able to, we are moving that data and indexing it in OpenSearch, like actively, like right now.
Yep.
So by the time that the project domains page is released for GA, that will be a fully functional fuzzy search across all project domains.
Awesome. Anything else to add to that, Reese?
I am excited to implement that.
Amazing. Another question that's come up in the chat, follow-up. So does Vercel.app have a really big database of subdomains? And what serverless deployments each one goes to, I guess? What database did you use for that? I love how these questions are very like implementation focused. Love them. Keep them coming.
Yeah, so today they are stored in Cosmos, which is a NoSQL data store. Probably you could compare it to Cassandra. I think actually Cosmos supports an underlying implementation of both Mongo and Cassandra. That being said, we are towards the end of the year looking to migrate different data stores, but it's a combination of our that data store, which kind of serves more of our API and UI layers. And then we have our kind of edge and compute team and proxy layer that handles that data on their side. I don't have a direct count. I'm reading chat here on the side.
Yeah.
That's good.
Another question about
I have a current count of our Vercel.app domains, but I am sure there is probably millions.
Millions. Wow. Okay, we need the exact number, Dylan. The chat wants the exact number. So next question is, the only thing stopping me from moving all my domains to Vercel is my mail server. Does Vercel have any nice integrations to get my emails brought over to?
Today we don't, but it is a space we're exploring. You can configure MX records on any of your domains, but we don't have any sort of native or tightly defined integrations there. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Reese, but we would be very happy to hear what you're looking for out of that.
Yeah, I mean, we support all of the standard records. I would be interested to hear specifically what like the current provider offers that like is a better experience that we can kind of see about implementing. It's on my list for us to add Domain Connect support for us as like a provider that'll make it easier for mail providers to configure records with us.
That's also, you should talk a little bit about Domains Connect and kind of our ambition with it and tenant kit and stuff like that.
We recently added support for like one-click configuration for your domains through a standard called Domain Connect. There's kind of two implementations of it. There's a provider implementation. There's like a provider and a consumer implementation of it. So if you need to configure DNS records, you can go through it. And then if you're like, obviously the provider needs to implement it, so you can go through it. And basically it's a way of standardizing configuring DNS records. And we are basically looking at making it easier for our customers to implement it, so that kind of the end goal is, if you're building a multi-tenant site on Vercel, or really just in general, you can like copy the primitives, and then you don't have to, your users no longer have to worry about like manually configuring DNS records. They just click a button, it takes them to where their domain is hosted. They click approve, and they're good to go.
Sort of related to the DNS records question. This is one that comes up a lot in like community issues. So I want to ask, why is a TXT record needed for verification sometimes? And do we have any plans to like change or modify that process for people?
So if you're using Vercel for DNS, and using our name servers, we are able to verify you because we are managing the name servers. So that is one way to have an easier experience there. That being said, TXT records are essentially the de facto way to prove ownership of a domain. If you are the owner of a domain, you should be the only person that is able to set DNS records onto your domain or subdomains. And by us providing you a token or a key to set as a record, as a TXT record on your domain, that confirms to us that you are in control of the DNS over that domain and proves authentication. And it's actually pretty likely over the next year, we lean into that model for verification even heavier. Right today, you can find yourself in some confusing situations about like who actually owns my domain, what team does it belong to, what project does it belong to. So we are going to be kind of leaning on the DNS style system of, I guess, authorization of ownership, and helping bring tooling and visibility to where your domain and any of its subdomains are used across Vercel.
That's great. We actually have a follow-up question to that. Is it safe to remove the TXT record later?
I believe it is. I don't think we pull against it.
Yeah, it's fine to remove, as long as it's verified.
Today I learned, did not know that. So I'll just get another question here from the chat. What's the easiest way to create a new subdomain for a user when they create an account in a Next.js app? Is there an SDK or API for it?
We have it's a little we have a example for this called the Platforms SDK, or Platforms example. Basically what you do is there's like a couple implementation approaches here. One thing you could do is what I'd recommend doing is doing a wildcard subdomain. So that's kind of what we we're talking about earlier, of how that's what Vercel.app uses, where we basically just have a big table of all of the subdomains that are used, and then when a request comes in, we match that subdomain part of the request to the database table, and then get the user entry from it. So in your case, you would set up a wildcard subdomain, and then when the request comes in for that user, match it. And then for doing that programmatically, there's not too much specific on the Vercel side, since in that case if you're using the a wildcard subdomain, there's nothing you need to do for Vercel API calls because the routing's. There's another scenario here though where if you had users bring their own domains, then you could programmatically update your domains list on your project using the Vercel SDK for TypeScript.
So another question that I have, going back to the TXT security stuff, what other security measures are in place to protect hosted domains from threats like phishing, DDoS, unauthorized transfers? What kinds of things do you guys have in place for that?
So today, the de facto kind of standard for protecting your domains is going to be the RBAC controls on your team and project, and how that is associated with the members on your team. Today, we currently don't support domain locking without a request to support. However, with our new registrar services, we will be enabling domain locking and basically allowing our customers to do that whenever they want. As far as phishing goes, we have a trust and safety team that is always on the look for this stuff and dealing with this constantly every day, and they do a stellar job at triaging domains that are impersonating real companies, real apps, that stuff in general. I'm missing anything, Reese? Oh, obviously we also have our firewall that we put in front of everything, and that is another big benefit to our customers.
Yeah, I think that covers everything.
Amazing. We have time for another question or two. So I'm going to ask one that we have that comes up again in the community. So, after this, we can just share this video and be like, well, Dylan and Reese answered this. So there are some services that offer free subdomains, but people sometimes run into errors configuring them with Vercel projects. How can someone get their suffix domain added so people can use these free subdomains without conflict?
So this is a kind of side quest project I need to get to here when I have time. It is slated for this half. But what drives this is our public suffix list, which is a publicly maintained list I should say typically publicly maintained list that you can find on GitHub. We have a local copy of that we maintain internally that today is essentially a giant JSON file that requires manual updating and deployments to our services. So when you run into that situation today, you have to open a ticket with support, and that comes through to engineering, and we update our internal public suffix list. The goal is to take that public suffix list and get it into a database and put some admin tooling around it. So our customers will be able to make requests from their dashboard. That ends up in a queue for our team to look at and approve, and it will automatically update our PSL. And we also need to, with that process, sync with the actual upstream PSL list. So that's on the roadmap. Just need to get time to knock it out.
We have a couple more questions in the chat. Let's see. Let's go with, is there a seamless process if you want to move your domain away from Vercel into a different provider like GoDaddy?
Yeah, you'll just need to click transfer out, and we'll provide you with a authentication code that you then supply to your new registrar. And at that point, it's kind of out of our hands and in the new registrar and registry's hands. Sometimes we get tickets and feedback often like, why is this taking a couple days to transfer? Or like, what is the status of this? Really, the best we can do is let you know that it's pending and nothing has gone wrong, but we can't give really accurate estimates on time. I mean, we could potentially track on average per TLD, but it's very dependent on the registrar you're transferring to and the registry or the TLD you're working with.
Anything to add, Reese?
Nothing on my end. Yeah, I went through the same thing when I transferred my domain. It's like, when is this going to happen? Yeah.
Should we do one more question, Amy?
I think one more.
Yeah, okay, cool. So one from the chat, will Vercel allow forwarding your domain through Cloudflare?
Do we not? I guess, Reese, do you have a better idea of what that means?
I think that means that having Cloudflare proxy enabled, which we support. We don't really recommend it. There's if you have Cloudflare proxy enabled, the request has to first stop at Cloudflare and then come to us, and so it adds some latency and reduces visibility into the traffic that's coming, which makes it harder on our end to enforce firewall policies, that kind of a thing. But I think we have some docs on how to set it up and how to have it in front if you needed to.
We'll definitely share that in the chat as well.
Yeah. All right. This is, I think we are kind of at time here. There's a lot more questions, so I think we're going to have you guys back another time soon. But thank you, Dylan and Reese, for joining us. This was such a great chat.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, guys.
All right. We have upcoming events happening, live meetups, webinars, and more community sessions. So be sure to check the events list to see everything that's coming up. And always ask us more questions in your community posts. We're always here.
Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And we'll see you again next week. Thanks, everyone.